lot of the time it's like actually you do feel different. You engage with us differently. You come up with different commercial ways of working. We will sit down with clients and say, well, how does this work? Or how do you want to commercialise it with a young team? Our youngest director's like 26, 27. I'm one of the oldest. Be careful how I say that, but I'm one of the oldest.
You might be one of the oldest in your organisation, but you're one of the youngest on this show.
Very good.
You like that, do you?
Good answer. Hi, my name's Jeff Cronkshaw. I'm the founder and CEO of Lancia Consult. We're a management consultancy with around 100 employees in Europe and Asia and South Africa, and this is my Duvet Flip.
Where do you think entrepreneurs go wrong?
First thing to recognise is it does go wrong. The entrepreneurs that fail, they try to come up with a business case. What is it you're trying to build and why are you doing it and who is the first customer you're going to speak to?
If I'm a young consultant walking in, I'm there to problem solve. What about if I'm walking into a room and I have no bloody idea how to solve that?
One of the reasons we founded our business is you shouldn't pretend you know everything. You absolutely do not. And we always say to our clients as well and our teams, like, do you think you know more than the client?
And my final question, are you ready for it?
Yeah.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
So, I think...
So Jeff, welcome to my duvet flip. How are we?
I'm very good. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we've got our cuppers, haven't we?
We do.
And I don't know where this conversation's going to go, which is the exciting thing, right?
It is. I see.
Tell me a little bit about your first job. Like, what was your first job? Like, the world of work, you go into the world of work and when you're young, you don't really know what to expect, what's going to happen. Or when you're 40 and you change careers, you don't know what's going to happen. Tell me a little bit about your first experience and what did that teach you about life?
I did a number of small jobs before my first proper job, right? So I think I was working 13, 14. I did a paper round. It sounds very common, but my paper round wasn't normal. It was North East Scotland, Aberdeenshire, running a bike around, I don't know, 10 miles, 15-mile route around farms in the rain and snow. It's not normal. And on top of that, I had to do all the collections and money and pay that into the bank and everything. So I was doing accountancy, logistics, supply chain. It sounds dramatic, but I didn't do it for long, about a year or so, because it was just too much. But it taught me, work, hard work, income. I needed the money. I had no other real pocket money or anything, and that was my first job. And then I had my own sort of endeavours. So I did like a printing company. I did type. I was very good at coding and typing, so I did typing. And I made more money from that in one job than a year of paper round. So that taught me there's better things to do with your time if you put your mind to it. And then I did like school discos and birthdays and things. And then again, earned more from that than I could do typing. And then I went to uni at quite a young age. But my first real job was probably my placement year, where I'd failed a number of interviews. And I got this interview for a job with Eli Lilly, a very successful pharmaceutical, US. And they offered me a job. And I did 1 year with them in network support, under tables and cabling, and I loved every minute of it. Very geeky, right up my street, my degree I was doing. And then they offered me a job to come back as a graduate. And then that was my first proper job. And I think for me, that was the first time I was 9 to 5. They were quite a strict company, so you had to be in by a certain time and leave at a certain time. And it taught me just the discipline of work and taking a job seriously and doing a good job every day, and they offered me a graduate job at the end of it, and a lot of others weren't. So that first proper job really taught me about just, I think back to the ones I had before, just a bit of hard work, focus on what you're doing, and it will set you up. And that discipline still stays with me today.
Discipline of work, what does that mean in today's world, in your opinion? Because obviously there's loads of different definitions of what discipline in the workplace means. What does it mean to you?
I think take it seriously, right? You're being employed by someone to do a job, and you've entered into a contract with that organisation or person, and they're paying you to do a job, and they should treat you properly and look after you and all those good things. But at the end of the day, it's a contract, and you should fulfill your side of the contract as well. And I think all that's asked of you is take it seriously, be disciplined, take the job seriously, put the best effort you can in, and the rest should take care of itself. That's how I see discipline at work. Not as in just it's an environment you should be disciplined and operate that way and take it seriously, and the rest will take care of itself. Generally does.
Do you think that the employment contract is taken as seriously when signing than a house mortgage, a car? Because
No.
when I first signed my first employment contract, okay, cool, holiday pay,
Yeah.
handbook. I don't know what that is, but you know what?
I think.
So why is that, do you think? Because you're totally right. You sign a contract, you are signing a contract, and you've got things on that contract that you need to deliver on.
Both parties do.
Yeah.
I don't think people do. I think it's not necessarily a major problem, but I think back to your first question about what did it teach me? It just taught me that it's a relationship between two parties. And I think if you're buying a house or you're buying a car, or you're taking a loan out, or you're signing a contract for a mobile phone, or you're very careful about what you're signing up to and your commitments that you're signing up to. I think that first job and sometimes before that taught me that it's just as important. And if you take your job seriously and the commitments and what the other party's expecting from you, everything will be fine. And your career should take care of itself. You'll be successful. But if you don't have that discipline about taking your job seriously and doing the best you possibly can do every day, then what do you expect to happen? The other party's not getting what they kind of were asking for. And it's a very broad brush statement, but it's a general principle I have, is that it's an equal relationship generally, and and especially if the employer, they only take their commitments just as seriously, and often they don't. But if you get the balance right, then everyone does well.
Well, then you build a good culture, right?
You build a good culture, and you try to be honest and transparent with people. If the company can't fulfill a commitment, tell them, explain why. But likewise, if you can't come to work that day, you would explain why. So it's just, I think both parties have to behave the same way. So that's what that first job kind of instilled in me. They were quite like I say, I wouldn't say strict, but they were a little bit old-fashioned, and it had made a big impression on me. Yeah.
And working for a old-fashioned organisation, did that benefit you?
I think at the time I was young. I went to uni at 17, and I was only just 19 in that job, surrounded by people that are many years older than me and different background to me, different universities, different careers that I hadn't been exposed to. Yeah, it helped me. Maybe that's why it clicked at the interview. I don't know, but it definitely helped me, and it gave me that structure, and maybe it did have a big impact on me. But and that company's been very successful, and they're a very forward-thinking organisation. It's not like they're some old-fashioned business anymore. They're very forward-thinking. They're very successful. 120 plus years old. There's a reason for that. So yeah, it made a big impression. I never felt I was being, corralled into something. I felt very much at home there. I loved every minute I was there, and I enjoyed going back. I loved my time back there massively. So it was a fun environment.
So if you find the right environment, the right company, and the right role, and it's one of your first jobs, you can really thrive, right?
I think so. But again, it doesn't always work out, right? And often it's people. So you can go to a great organisation, but not a great boss, or your relationship with that person's not great. I might have a great relationship with you and someone else won't, right? So it's not always the company. It can be a people thing. But when it works, it can be a great environment, yes. And I think you need to contribute to that culture as well. And if that works for you, then you enjoy it. Get involved. So I think it can work very well.
What's one thing I could do if I'm joining your organisation tomorrow? What's one thing I can do to contribute to the culture?
I think what we expect from when it comes to our organisation, at Lancia Consult, right? What we expect is you just do your best every day, right? And you're honest and transparent with us as well, and we try to be the same with you. And if that's what you do, and you do your best, and you take your job seriously, and you take the 8, whatever it is, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 8 till 5 or whatever hours you're in, and you just put your energy into that, and if the time flies by, then you had a good day, right? You haven't had time to look at the news, or it's just been busy. So our job is to make it as busy as possible, as enriching and fun as possibly can. Not every day is great. And for our team, we look for them just to get involved, contribute, take it seriously, and the time will fly by, and you feel enriched, and you should feel that you had a really productive day. Not every day's like that, especially in consulting. Some days are fantastic, other days are, why am I here, right? But as a general rule, that's what we ask of our people. Yeah, just give it your all.
And what about if someone's feeling like they're not giving it their all, and you normally know, right? Personally, the individual will know if they're actually putting in the effort. And what about if you're trying and then it's just not clicking? What do you do?
There's got to be a reason, right? So you can spot if someone's not engaging or not happy, and then try to find out why. And it could be anything in the background. It could be a personal thing, it could be a home thing, it could be a financial thing, it could be, I don't like the job. I mean, like, consulting is unique, right? It's a unique career path. It's not like any other job. And it's like a roller coaster of emotions. There can be fantastic weeks, fantastic mornings, bad afternoons. So sometimes it's just that. And other times it could be, is this for you? And let's talk about it. Is everything okay? I think you can tell. And I think then you need to, back to responsibility, the employer should be taking that seriously and caring and trying to listen and understand and be approachable. For the individual, if you're struggling, talk about it. Find a way of talking about it. Ask a colleague or a peer or a boss if you have that relationship and say, look, I'm struggling with this. I don't enjoy this. Is this normal? It might be normal. It might just be a bad week. Or it might be, actually, maybe this is not for you. It depends. But I think talk and engage on it.
Starting the conversation,
Start
right?
the conversation. Both parties are responsible for that. It's not just the employee or just the boss. It's a relationship. And if that doesn't work, then it's dysfunctional, and then people leave companies.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's in everyone's interest to talk about these things. An interesting fact about me is that I used to be a volunteer fireman and did 3 years trained by London Fire Brigade, working as a volunteer call-out fireman with a company I used to work for, which was crazy, but I loved every minute of it.
You say consultancy is unique, and I, from the outside and meeting several consultancies, it engages me because you get to work on so many different. You have so much depth and width at the same time because you get to go into other businesses and support them with their problems. What does consultancy for your organisation look like? What does a typical day look like? And how does that then translate into obviously supporting businesses and clients? Like, how does that look?
So you get asked that question a lot, right? But the thing is, there is no typical day. That's the beauty of it, right? So there is no typical day. The longer you're in consultancy, the more varied that becomes, because obviously you get more senior, you're exposed to more topics, more range of topics. But take my day, it obviously is incredibly varied because the role I'm in now, and I've been doing this for 20 plus years. But I can go from a very straightforward client meeting, helping a team with a very straightforward topic, to the next minute dealing with a PR situation with a client, or moving into a management meeting, literally within 2-3 hours. And if you bring it right back down to this new starter, it might not be as varied, but it's still very varied compared to other careers. So in any given day or week, you're in different topics, different meetings, potentially different client meetings, all in the space of maybe a day, a week, or a month. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you're basically problem solving. And even though, like, a new starter coming in, be it straight from uni or school, we do a mixture. You are effectively problem solving. The reason why the client has brought a consultancy in is to either do things they don't want to do things they can't do, or they're trying to speed something up or slow something down. It depends on the situation, but you're there to solve something and get something done. So it's unique. It's also temporary. Consultants should melt away and come back again. They shouldn't be there. They're not a permanent fixture. So we always tell our team, you're there to get this done. This is the outcome we're trying to achieve with the client. It's very objective focused, and it will end. And you'll go on to something else, which also helps because it's a roller coaster. Some projects aren't as good as others. Some are really exciting. Some are a bit more mundane. But you always know it's coming to an end at some point. It's a bit like Doctor Who, and it keeps changing, right? Consultants are the same. The more you're in it, the longer it lasts, the more variety, the deeper it gets. And I guess the last thing is it's nomadic. So I haven't had a desk or an office for 20 years. My office is my rucksack I came in with. that's my office, and I love it. And I know where I have my laptop, my book, my pens. That's it, right at my phone.
That's why you pulled out a chair.
That's why I pulled out a chair. Just
came out.
dump it on there. But it's very unique, and I think it attracts a certain type of personality. So there's no fixed rule for this, but if you like that lifestyle and you like that variety, maybe you get bored easily. I get bored very, very quickly. Consulting keeps you fed and alive, and it keeps you moving. It's always there's variety every week. It's unique for that respect. And maybe it takes time to realise that. So when the new starters come in and you're starting your career, it maybe takes a few years to see that variety, but it's there. And if you talk to any consultant that's been doing it for 15, 20 years, it's like, oh, I can't even talk about the product. I can't even remember them because there's so many. So it's very unique, I think.
And what the role of the consultant is to problem solve. Is that to go into the room and ask all the questions rather than have all the answers? Because a lot of, I see it as, and I could be wrong, and I'm not in the industry, and kick me under the table if you want, is consultants are there to go from having all the answers to all the questions at first stance, and then go away to get the answers. How do you see it? Like what? So if I'm a young consultant walking in, I'm there to problem solve. What about if I'm walking into a room and I have no bloody idea how to solve that? Have you ever been into a client meeting and gone, I don't even know where to start, but then obviously you have smarter people around you. Like, tell me that kind of stuff.
So it's like I said before, you're there to get something done, right? So it's either to implement something, make a change, or you could be a very small cog in that major endeavor, but you're there to help the client achieve something. Now that's usually grow faster, save money, expand, buy that company, or roll out that system, or change the way of working. They're the core themes, right? So you're there to do that. So are you problem solving? You're solving their problem, but you're not necessarily going to a meeting, let's do problem solving every day. But you may be engaged over weeks and months on a major program trying to help that client get that job done. That's the general theme. And you're often exposed to situations where, because you're in that situation, you're transitionary, you're new, you're there to get something done. You're going to meetings where you have very little background, very little information sometimes, and you have to think on your feet. And you have to either prepare yourself for that or be ready to handle that and come back to it later. So it's a lot of resilience. It's a lot of self-determination and solving things for yourself. Reaching out in your network to, if you're not sure, go and work it out. Talk to your colleagues, your bosses, your peers. That's the problem-solving part. So not necessarily I'm going to solve X, Y problem in the client meeting today. It's going to be I need to get this done. I don't know how to do it exactly. I haven't done it before. I need to go away and work that out. And so I'm back in the next week. I know what I'm talking about. And it can be like that, absolutely. And I think consultancy is one of the reasons we founded our business is you shouldn't pretend you know everything. You absolutely do not. And we always say to our clients as well and our teams, like, do you think you know more than the client? They've been doing it their entire existence, perhaps, this business area or this job, and you've been brought in to help them get it done quicker maybe, or faster, or maybe a bit cheaper. But they're generally the experts. So you need to learn off them as much as anything. And I think that's the most important thing. So the problem solving is more about solving your own problems with the client and going away and working that out. So like I say, resilience, self-determination, self-empowerment. It can be very lonely. And that's the life of a consultant.
And how do you make it less lonely? What have you done? You've been in consultancy for years. What have you done to make it less lonely? Obviously, you started the business with your wife, who I had the pleasure to meet and who's here. Like, but like, what do you both do to like? Because I obviously Leon and I run a business, and we're just like sometimes it can just be lonely. Just the entrepreneur side, let alone being a business owner, and then the consultancy side. What do you do to kind of not feel as lonely?
So I think from a team perspective, you have to remember that, and remember that they are often isolated, and it's not like they're on their own for weeks on end, but you've got to create that environment around them that they've got a support network. They know where they can go to. You create environments in work that they have our culture. So you can forget who you work for sometimes. It can be a bit like that. If you're so deep in the client work, who am I working for? So keep your company culture alive, engage, social events, all kinds of things we can do to create that networking, coaching, mentoring inside the company. So that's one aspect of it. I think from running a business point of view, you're right. It doesn't matter what business you're doing. It can be a lonely existence at times. So get your own support network, and it's critical. So I built mine over years. I know Isabella has as well, and our directors have, and we tell them the same things. Like, what happens to us happens to you. So you need to be prepared for that. And you're in the same situation. As the more successful it gets, it actually can get more isolating. So I think there's two parts to it. One is, in a company, in consulting, you need to remind them constantly that we are a consulting company. This is who we are. It's our identity. And there's ways you can do that. I say events, mentoring, coaching, etc. Simple as an after-works drinks event or a breakfast meeting. Little things go a long way. Or a big annual party. There's ways you can do that. Engaging them, bringing clients into team meetings and things internally. Just show them the benefits of being a consultant, reminds them of who they are working for. And I think personally, as an entrepreneur or business leader, you've got to create a support network. Yeah, you have to. And I've got friends that are in similar situations to me, and it's a very unique relationship. And you can share things that you wouldn't normally talk about with others. So I think it's really important, yeah.
And how do you go about to build a network if you're an entrepreneur? There are a lot of entrepreneurs tuning in as well. How do you set one up? Who do you trust? How do you build a network? Is it jumping in the deep end? And because we've all been there, where you meet someone and you're like, oh, okay, they seem really good. They're an entrepreneur. They've got a business. You start then trying to do some work together, and they turn out to be all right. We don't swear on this show. And then you just
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
and you feel hurt because you give your soul. And I'm a big believer. If I say I'm going to do something for you, I don't know how to do it. I'll find a way. But if I look you in the eyes and say it's going to be done, it's done. And that's how I've always been brought up. Roll up your sleeves. Say you're going to commit to what you're going to commit to. If you can't, say over communicate and say I'm struggling here, but do what you say you're going to do. But the world can be so flaky. So how can you build your, and I totally agree with you, build your support network, and sometimes they can come from really random and weird places.
Absolutely.
But how do you go about step by step for those who may say, you know what, I'm going to go and build something?
Well, I think, again, there's two answers to that. You've got the entrepreneur answer, which I think is quite different. And there's a general answer for people in their careers. You need a support network. If you're, again, back taking your job seriously, you're disciplined and you're focused on your work, you have hard days. So build your support. It might be a friend of the family. It might be a colleague you really have a good relationship with. But build that network. So I think where you have a genuine connection and you genuinely like the person, or you feel they're respecting you, and you should do that generally. You should have a support network. I think for an entrepreneur, you're right. The problem is, as time goes on, you get, I think, a bit fussier, you get more sensitive. You do get let down a lot of times as well. And I think you have to be very sensitive to who you're building out as an entrepreneur network. But from a business network perspective, I think you just have to be open, and just talk to many people talk as much as you can, meet people as often as you can. Some of those may become very strong friends, or, like, say, mentors, or just help, someone to talk to, have a beer or coffee or tea with. Others are just great people for a certain topic or industry you want to go meet and get some advice on. So I think you just be, it sounds really cheesy, but building a network, which is your support network as well, is a bit like landscaping a garden, right? It's never, ever, ever done. You're constantly nurturing. I'm a terrible gardener, I hate it, but the metaphor works, right? Which is, you need to look after it. If you don't, it just turns to wilderness. And I think you need to be in there every day, tweaking, kneading, keeping an eye on it, trying new things out, growing that garden. And the more effort you put into it, the better it's going to be. And it's the same as your network. I think you take it seriously. And even I was told very early in my career that the people you're meeting, so I was 22, 23, who are you, right? You're this young guy working in this project, rolling this system out to some country in the world or whatever, loving the tech side of it. But one of my bosses said to me, the person you're working with today could be a CEO in 20 years or a head of this in 10 years. or just your best friend in 5 years. You just don't know. So treat everyone the same way, and you just never know where they're going up. And it's absolutely true. And as you grow, your network grows, your garden grows, and those peers around you are like you as well. So just take it seriously and put effort into it, and it will be fine. It will all work out. And I think networking and in that you've got, like I say, support network. You've got people with advice. You've got just friends you go to for a chat.
We've just narrowed down the title of this: treat your network like gardening.
Yeah, not like I garden. No.
Not like you and I garden, but I think that's a great analogy.
Treat it like a garden, and you know, you look at these beautiful gardens, and people have beautiful networks. Right? I think take it seriously. You know, look after it.
So Jeff, after the opportunity, your intern, was it an internship? Was it a full-time job?
So 1 year internship.
1 year internship.
Yeah.
Where did you go next? What happened next in your career?
Well, they offered me a job, right? So that's the point about the time flew. I really enjoyed it. I actually I did 14 months with them. I had to go back to uni to finish my degree, but actually you're kind of torn. So I really like working now, and like the money and the salary. But they said that there was a little bit of an assessment, but they offered me a job, and that just got me totally focused on finishing uni as fast as possible, as best possible, and going into that job. So it was massive reassurance in my final year. I didn't have to worry about getting a job. I had to just worry about finishing at a good enough grade, and I knew it would be fine. And it set me up. It was transformative. And like I said before, that placement year, that 1 year internship was my 6th or 7th interview. I failed the first 5 or 6, and then the 7th, 8th, I got the job.
What's your advice for people? Because 7th interview, you can be a little bit distraught. And it's not just interviews, it could be a client pitch, it could be a promotion that you didn't get 7 times around. What is your advice to anyone when it comes to that? We talked about resilience. Like, I think resilience is so important, whether you're working or an entrepreneur. What is your advice for people to keep going? Because it's easier said than done, right?
It's very hard. I think there's many moments. You form resilience, I'm afraid, by going through experiences. You can't just be resilient, right? You have to experience things, I think, to form resilience. So I remember that interview, the university ringing me up and chasing me to go in. I didn't want to go in. And they said, oh no, this interview is a good job, it's good, you need to go and do this. I'd failed 6, 7 before. But pushing yourself through that, I think that probably calmed me down on that day. And I was just very relaxed. I didn't really care too much about the outcome. I just focused on just being myself, talking to someone, answering the questions, and not overthinking things. I think that probably what got me through that. And I think my advice to anyone doing interviews is a similar thing. Just don't take it too seriously. Be yourself, and just having a conversation with someone. And just that's how you should take it. Again, you know, it's an interview, but just try to be yourself and enjoy the conversation. And I think the previous ones, I was just so worried about answering the question the right way or trying to say things like a certain direction, but it takes you down the wrong tunnel if not careful. I think just relax, be yourself, and you can't be in control of it either. You know, it's not your decision in the day. It may not work out, that interview, for whatever reason. But so don't stress too much, but I think just be yourself. Interesting fact about Lancia Consult is, well, there's two interesting facts. One is we're a co-founded business with my wife and I, so I think that's quite rare to see companies that are run by not just the two of us, but founded by a couple, and that's persisted for now 13, 14 years, which I'm very proud of. And the other link to that is the fact that we're a consultancy that's grown out of Asia into Europe, which is something we're very proud of.
And what would you say, you know, that 9 out of 10 places always say it on an interview. So do you have any questions for us?
Always have a question.
Always have a question.
Yeah.
What's a good question to have?
I think just research the person that's interviewing you, or obviously the company, and take that part very seriously. Be disciplined about it. So you usually know the interviewer's name. They usually tell you, who are they? What's their career background? Have a question about them. Oh, I saw I saw, Jack, that you went to this school, or I saw, Jack, that you come from this area. How did you end up here? You know, just be personal. Or, oh, I saw this news article in the company from last year where you bought this other company, and why did you do that? Don't show that you're actually interested. So yeah, you don't need many. They haven't got time to take 10 questions from you. Just a couple of questions that show that you care and you've done some research. And my top tip would be about the person. Because they've been through how many interviews that week or day, and you give them a chance. You say, Jack, I saw that you went to this school, and I had a friend who went there. How did you go from that school to here, and what happened there? Oh, I've never been asked that before, and suddenly you're having a human conversation. So yeah, always have a couple of questions, but it doesn't take long to do a bit of research. Look for Google News search on the person or the company, look at the recent news articles, look at the person on LinkedIn, and come prepared.
And if that question is not asked at the end, do you have any questions? Is it a good time to say, I have a few more questions?
Absolutely. You should say, oh, is it okay if I ask a question? Again, it shows that you're caring about it. It shows that you're interested in the company and you want the job. So yeah, absolutely. But again, like if you met someone in a pub or in a coffee shop for the first time, you would ask them questions. Oh, so where are you from? Or where did you go to school? Or what do you do for work? Or what brings you here? You don't just statically walk out the room after a coffee, right? So the interview is no different. It's humans talking to each other. Ask a question. Yeah, absolutely. Make it as normal as you possibly can. And again, both parties have to do that. So both parties need to try and bring it into a conversation. And it's not the be-all and end-all of recruitment. Interviewing is fraught with failures, and it's not a great way of finding people. So just respect that, and don't stress too much if it doesn't work out.
I love that advice. So entrepreneurship, starting your own business, how did that come about? Like, where did that conversation start? Why did you want to do it? Was it a problem with the market? Was it frustration? A lot of different reasons why people start stuff. What was the reason that you wanted to start something?
Well, it was both of us, Isabella and I, and it was. I guess the question is why leave perfectly good jobs, right, in your early 30s, right, and start a consulting company. I can't believe how young we were starting a consulting company at the time. I look back on it and think, what on earth were we thinking about? But at the time, it was more, it was a mixture of things. It was from frustration, let's be honest, and the consultancy we worked for, we had a great time, learned a load of stuff, really high respect for them. They create a phenomenal market, and them and other consulting companies, but they're big organizations, and it can be frustrating. Any big company can be very frustrating, and there's times in your career it's just not working out. But there was frustration on both our sides, but we're both doing well. Second was we just had a daughter, and it wasn't working for Isa. Again, life changes, right? Anything can happen in your life that can change the dynamic. That it could be working for a smaller company like LanciaConsult. Suddenly, there's a reason to change. But so we had a daughter. It wasn't quite working for Isa, so we started basically a company to give her a way of working as a consultant for our own company. I jumped in very quick, like a couple of months later. I was like, this is great. Why don't we just do this together? And why don't we build our own business? And it's a bit daunting. I remember staying up very late discussing that, and then firing the email into my boss at 5 a.m. So there's no way of him replying, right? He did reply at 5:05, but replying. And then it was just starting something together and brand new. And we took it because we'd taken a leap, it was about, this has to work out. It's not, you can't just go back, right? You can't just, it's not that easy sometimes, right? So it had to work out, and we wanted it to be multi-company, we wanted it multi-office, sorry, we wanted it to be multi-country, multi-office, and that took us a while, 4 or 5 years, but it's that jump was frustration, personal, family. Underneath that was, I think we're both quite entrepreneurial in our backgrounds, and Isabella for her background and her family, and mine.
Were you doing disco and birthday parties?
Definitely discos. But that was already there. And it was the circumstance and time and where we were in the world in Singapore, everything kind of made sense, and we went for it, yeah.
And if the situations in your life, the frustration, obviously having a daughter, yeah. If
she wasn't that frustrating, she was all right.
No, yeah, not the daughter. That's excitement. If all those stuff didn't happen, do you think you'd still be employed And do you think you'll still be working in consultancy now?
I think so. Yeah. I don't think I could do another job, and consultancy is like I said, the variety and you can go from a very straightforward task to a very complex topic in the same hour or two. I love that, right? And I think I do get bored very easily. Consulting does not. It keeps you very plugged in. I've moved around a lot growing up. Consultancy moves you around, so those things are kind of inbuilt in me. I think I'd be working in a big consultancy, or maybe I would have joined or helped build another one or something like that. I think that would have, absolutely, yeah. And you kind of get that realization in your career at certain times. When you find the thing you really enjoy, you just want to keep on doing it. And I really enjoy consulting. I think it's, like I said, a career like no other. It suits me brilliantly. And I would be doing something similar. Yes, absolutely.
I love that. And in the early days, did you ever have times that you just both looked at each other and said, is this working? What's going on?
Well, we're still here.
You are. 13, 14 years later.
13 years later, yeah. It's many times. I mean, how many companies with joint founders or multiple founders have fallouts? Most of them. So we've had many fallouts, and you mix the marriage with that. It's very tough. But in those experiences, weirdly, if you can survive them, you learn how to navigate them. You learn what space. At any founder relationship, you know which of the spaces are. You learn what you enjoy and what you want to be focusing on. So you kind of divide the leadership, and we went through all those things. And you mix marriage on top of that with a daughter as well, and life, and it's very tough. Yeah, but I think
and traveling and everything.
And traveling and being away, and yeah, it's back to resilience. I think you need to go through those things sometimes. It wasn't easy. It's not easy today. But you learn how to deal with those things. And I think those founders or partners or directors or any business leaders working together, you've got a lot of give and take, a lot of compromise, and commitment to a longer journey. If you're focused on the year ahead, you can have fallouts. But if you're focused on, look, it's going to be okay. 5 years from now, 6 years from now, the only fools and horses thing, right? And next year we'll be a millionaire. It's the same sort of mentality. Don't worry about it. It just, as long as you've got that focus, you'll be fine.
And did you take out external investment, or did you bootstrap it?
Bootstrapped. So we have a little bit of debt investment. Sorry, not debt. We've raised with bank and a couple of individuals, but that's it. So it's an organic business powered by its P&L.
And what is the big vision for the next 5 years or the next 14 years?
14 years?
Yeah, what's the plan?
How old will I be? Yeah. Our vision hasn't changed that much, so it's still the same, right? We wanted to be a multi-country, multi-office company. We've done that. We're doing that. That doesn't stop.
Why did you want to do that? What was the kind of ethos behind wanting to be multi-country, multi-office?
Honestly, because the jump we made from our jobs meant this has to be worth it. Right? This has to be worth it. This is going to be a sacrifice. It's going to be a lot of hard work. I think we knew, but we knew what we were getting into to some extent. So there's no point doing this really for just to hire, say, 10 people. It needs to be multi-country, multi-office. So it's more about making it worth it, right? That goal of being a large company, which we're very proud of, that's the goal. And it's not just us, it's the team, the leadership, the whole team doing that. Second, work across multi-sectors. So we do that. It's easier for me to think about the sectors we're not working in, which then means we can target those to work in them, right? But we want to be multi-sector. We want to become more of a group investment partner for our clients we work with. So how can we do adjacent type businesses and services that we grow into other markets? So we've moved from want to be a multi-office company to multi-country company to adjacent services to capital and investments in those areas. So the vision is basically to be consulting's at our core, but we want to be a very powerful partner to our clients for a number of adjacent services. We're, at the end of the day, solving their problems and helping them get through those issues for different tools that we have. One is consulting, one might be investment, one might be branding and marketing, etc. So we're looking at those adjacencies that we can grow into ourselves or inorganic, etc. So it's an exciting vision, and our team is built into that. And we've just finished our kind of last 5-year one, and we're about to start our next 5-year one.
That is cool.
So its timing's good, but we're engaging with them probably later this year and say, well, what do you want it to look like as well? It's not just 2 founders or a leadership team anymore. It's everyone. We've got people who've been with the company 10 years, 5 years, 8 years, 6 years, 2 years, 1 month, and they've all got a say. And the more it aligns with that, the better. So yes, we have our view, clearly, but then it needs to be interesting for everyone. So yeah, we're looking at that right now. But at the end of the day, consulting at its core, answering and helping clients with multitude of problems, and you need different services to do that. So we're looking at
Why do you, when you put in a bid or you pitch your work, why do you believe clients choose you over someone else? What is the secret ingredients? Like, what do you think is it that they go, actually, we're all in, we're a partner?
Well, I think sometimes it's simply we're there at the right time. Okay, but at the right time, the right price, and we're professional and we're the right answer. I also think it's because we are unique in that we're a privately held company. And there are other privately held consultancies, but not like, I'm saying there's not many like us where we're founder-led, we're very founder-orientated. When we engage with clients, our attitude is generally very practical, we're very entrepreneurial, we're very genuine with people, and I think that comes out. But let's be honest, sometimes it's just, you're great at what you do, the price is great, we've heard great things about you, I'd like to try you out. But a lot of the time, it's like, actually, you do feel different. You engage with us differently. You come up with different commercial ways of working. A lot of the other consultancies, particularly the bigger ones, are fairly regimented.
Around their little boxes, aren't
Yeah, it's like, I have this service, I don't really do that service, or I always price it this way, or I always commercialise this way. We've not built our business that way. So we will sit down with clients and say, well, how does this work? Or how do you want to commercialise it? And not every client's like that. Some are very transactional. But I like to think we stand out. We've got lots of aspects about us that stand out. We grew out of Asia into Europe, not Europe into Asia. We have a founder-led type of mentality. We have a young team. Our leadership team...
2 co-founders, by the way.
2 co-founders. We have other founders as well. You're right, one very cool founder. And then I think our youngest director's like 26, 27. I'm one of the oldest. Be careful how I say that, but I'm one of the oldest. So that comes across, and I think that it's in certain situations with clients that really resonates with them.
You might be one of the oldest in your organisation, but you're one of the youngest on this show.
Very good.
You like that, do you?
Good answer.
It sounds like I can see why people would choose you and your vision when you go in, and it just feels like common sense. Where do you think entrepreneurs go wrong with their businesses? Like, you might 14 years. Like, some businesses don't even make it a year or 3. It's the graveyard is 3 years. You can get over that. You're halfway there. 14 years with everything else in terms of traveling and having a daughter, and then recently moving back to the UK after 20 years.
Nearly 20 years, yeah.
Wow. What's been this? Where do you see others have gone wrong that you notice?
I think the first thing to recognise is it does go wrong. And we've had many moments where it's very scary. And I think you learn that it's precious. And I still today kind of reset every year. I kind of look each year and think, oh, we go again. So I think the first mentality is recognise the risk you're in, right? You're owning a business, you're an entrepreneur. It's a risky endeavour. So don't hide from that. I think so. It is risky. And no matter how hard you try, sometimes events can go against you. Be COVID, the economy, it can be a number of things. People leave your business. You may have fallouts, things you can't control. So it is a risky endeavour. I think those that navigate that are the ones that try to take practical decisions when those things are coming. Don't try to over-engineer that. Just try to deal with the issue as it comes, because it will keep coming. Although I think those that tend to, entrepreneurs that fail, maybe sometimes that they try to come up with a business case at the beginning. I say, right, and I see this. I get asked now and then and say, can you look at my business plan? I've had a few in the past couple of years where you get sent this 30-page document. And I say to them, I'm not even going to read it. I don't need to read that. What is it you're trying to build, and why are you doing it, and who is the first customer you're going to speak to? And it's not a business until you have an invoice and it's paid. Right? You can send out as many invoices as you like, but it's got to be paid. So how are you going to do a service to a person, at the end of the day it's people, and give them an invoice and get them to pay you? Answer that question. Not all this other stuff.
You can have as many invoices as you like, but it has to be paid.
It has to be paid. It's not a business until it's paid. And I think I see...
And how many invoices do you need when you're starting out to kind of show that it's a proven and tested?
One. Right? Someone, if you give a service to someone and they pay you for it, you've got a business. Right? Now, if you can do 10,000 invoices a month or one, right? But that's a business. That's when I start listening. It's like, okay, you've got something, right? You've got an idea that's actually people want to transact.
So is that your first question to everyone?
I would say
to you with the, because I think that's brilliant. We need to get you on Dragon's Den as one of the dragons, because have you sent an invoice? Has that been paid?
Has it been paid?
Yeah.
Right. And I met with one recently. I love the idea. I think I do. But who are you going to speak to next week to sell that to? I don't know yet. I'm going to do some market research. Then stop. Like, who is the person you're going to speak to? And what are you going to sell them? And there's multiple steps to this process before you get to I'm a business. And I think that some of the problem with the VC cultures over the last 10 years, maybe longer, is it's given some entrepreneurs a feeling of, I don't need to worry about that because I can raise money, I can build a product, and it might come off. It's true, but it likely not, right? And if you're not focused on those core things like service, invoice, payment, these are the core principles of business. That's where I think some people get lost, and you can get lost very quickly.
Leon and I have got a friend who raised 20 million. 15 million. They do the dollars, so it's more. At the age of 21, his business has pivoted 3-4 times in a period of 18 months, and all you see on Instagram is him on holiday. Leon and I thinking,
I think there's lots of good things that come out of VC, and the PE markets, and there's some great things, but I think it's also led to this, I think, false belief in some people. They think, well, I'm a business now. And you might be, but I think the chances are limited unless you really focus on those core things. And I think what you're seeing now is investors are now much more aware of that. And they've been, again, things factor into like interest rates and these things that change mindsets. But I think the market has changed. I bet that there's a lot of those stories out there of entrepreneurs who have taken money with an idea, maybe never even sent an invoice out. So it's a bet, basically. So an interesting fact I find about consultancy is I find it's a very unique career path. It's a career path unlike many others. It's a unique way of work. You're very nomadic. You live out of a bag. You have no desk, and you move between project to project. I think it's a very unique part of being a consultant, especially if you spend many years in it or decades like I have. I think it's one of the best careers you can have.
I like what you said when you basically create a co-partnership with a client, and you use the saying, how do you want to commercialize it? I think that's really good. How long did it take you to kind of get to that stage? Because I've never heard that before, and people say, oh yeah, you set your price, you have your little box and that, but how would you like to commercialize it? Is such a brilliant question. I think from today I'm going to start using that, if you don't mind. But like, I think that's confidence in your own abilities and your team's abilities and what you're offering, right? How do you, obviously negotiation starts, but asking the client how would you like to commercialize this gives a sense of a whole new level, doesn't it?
I think, to be clear, it's a lot of times you don't get a chance to ask that question as well, right? So you're also in a situation where, but we're selling a service, right? So a lot of clients will buy it in a certain way. So a lot of it can be quite transactional. A lot of it can be very standard ways of doing work, but always be ready to ask that question. And we do. It's not, I wouldn't say every single engagement's like that, but when you've got the right relationship and you've got an open conversation going, so, well, how about this way or this way? We've tried these things with other clients. Does that work for you? Some clients are not interested. I want it this way. Fine, but if you ask a question, you need to know what they want. So it might be maybe they want to commercialize in a very standard way. At least you know. And you're working together smooth. Don't make any assumptions. You're usually working in a smooth manner. But sometimes, well, I don't know. What ideas do you have, Jeff? It's like, well, this is an idea that might work for you. How does it work for you? And I think you need to be transparent about what works for you, where you're going to make your money and where you're not. And mature clients will react well to that, I think. So.
I'm just being told to sit back. Because I'm so interested, because I'm an entrepreneur. I'll get a sign, you see. I'm dyslexic, so they have to put it, they can only do 2 words and have to do it big, otherwise I don't know what it means. And I know you said you're around 2 fantastic individuals, your family, your wife and your daughter who speak a couple of languages.
Yeah, it's very
I was thinking in my head, I only speak English, but then I thought, no, I do speak a second language, and that's Essex. So I got 2 languages. So I don't know if you go to Essex much, but
I went to school. I was brought up in Essex before Scotland.
Wow.
So Southend-on-Sea.
Southend-on-Sea. So I was Romford.
Ah,
yeah, you got Southend-on-Sea.
One's slightly better than the other.
Southend-on-Sea is better. You got the beach, you got the arcades. Romford's a little bit passed through now, to be honest.
No, I spent primary school in Essex. So,
we can have a conversation in Essex one day.
The beautiful language is great.
We've only got time for 2 more questions.
Yeah.
Life lesson. Like, what's one thing? Something's happened in your life, and like you said earlier, you have to go through the failures or the hurt or the situations or the experiences to actually build the resilience. What's something that you've gone through that just stayed with you, and it's kind of now in your career toolbox that you pull out and say, "Oh, I remember. Oh, that's what it's about." What's one of those?
I think you ask a question in an interesting way. It's pretty 2, right? I think one would be personal. I mean, my parents split up when I was very young. I still look back on that. It affected me and my brothers and lots of other families in the same situation, but it really formed, I think, the next 10, 15, 20 years. It still does, right? It's a very powerful thing that happens to you, and you have to be you have to get on with yourself and look after yourself and deal with it. And I was the oldest brother of 3, so huge lesson at a young age, and forced into a situation where you're basically in charge of yourself and others very quickly. And I think the second is work. There's moments when you take your eye off the ball, and I remember one before Lancia, and I won't say which company it was, but one of those companies, and the boss took my piece of work and he tore it up and he threw it in my face. And you wouldn't really get away with that today, right? It's why would you do that? But I hadn't done good enough. My work was not good enough, and the reaction was wrong. But that, I sat back and went, that's not going to happen to me again, right? I'm not going to let that happen to me again. So powerful. I was thinking about this the other day. These are 2 powerful moments in my life. There's other work experiences you go through, but one was personal and a very formative part of your teenage life, and the other was a work one, which was completely inappropriate. But it stayed with me. So, well, what did I do? What did I do wrong there? And at the crux of it, I hadn't taken it seriously enough. I had gone into that meeting ill prepared. The reaction was wrong, but it stayed. That really impacted me, and I think that, again, back to a bit of hard work ethic and just focus on doing a good job. So those 2 things, I think, really powerful.
And that's how you respond, right?
How you respond to it, and I think how you kind of avoid it in the future. It's like you cross the road and the car beeps at you. You cross the road a bit more carefully next time. So I think sometimes you need these things. Not saying the reaction was appropriate, but it made me think about how I was approaching. I maybe a bit too cocky, I was a bit too confident. I'd leaned back a bit too much in my work, and that was a warning sign. The reaction was wrong, but the lesson was correct, probably. Yeah.
I've never had something ripped up in my face, but I was a recruitment consultant for an organisation, and I started there. It was my second job, and it taught me everything around KPIs, numbers. You had your own mini desk that you was building, and it taught me in a safe space how to sell. And I had a really good relationship with my manager. Obviously, one day after working there for 3.5 years, he was having a bad day. I was on the call, education recruitment, putting teachers up to principal levels into work. I went to pick up the call because the rule was if the call lands on your desk, no matter who you are, how senior you are, you take it. I picked it up, and that's the rule. He came up, he got the phone, pushed it down, and said, "I was just about to talk to you." I was like, "Yeah, but that's a client on the call."
But it stayed with you, right?
It stayed with me that day I left the organisation, just before Christmas, him and his boss was over here, and we were just having a chat because they want to partner with us. And that's the thing is, I always joke as look, hide the phones, hide the phones around. But situations do shape you, and I came away from that a bit like your situation you had is I will never be treated like that again.
Yeah, and exactly. And I think back to another thing we talked about around the people you meet today, you don't know whether you're going to meet them later, and it applies to both sides of that relationship, right? So that person that did that to you, he was never going to think in 10 years or 5 years later he's going to have that conversation with you today, right? So I think if you approach both relationships that way, that with a bit of respect for each other, I don't know where I'm going to see you next time, in a year, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So just be normal. Just be normal, treat each other with respect, and again, generally it's all going to be fine.
And my final question, are you ready for it?
Yeah.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
So I think honestly, it's that this project, Lancia Consult, has to work, right? Every day. It's like it has to work. So it gets me out of bed every morning. It's like another day, let's go. With the team, this has to work. And that's what's got us through 14 years, and it will get us for another 14 years. You know, it's about just this has to work. And that gets me up every day.
I can see that in you. And you meet people in life, and some you meet and you have like you said earlier, you have a conversation. It might be something a bit industry led. It might be something that you got common interest. I can see that, and I like, not that you need my good luck, but like I'm rooting for you. Anything I see online now, I'm going to be
awesome. No, thank
championing.
you.
I don't do that lightly because there's
a
lot of morons out there at the same time. But I just want to say thank you. Thanks for investing your time. Thanks for coming in so kind. I really, one of my values is being ruthlessly kind. And I think it can get you so many places if you're kind, but if you do it with sincere and be authentic with it, and kindness has really helped me. So I just want to say thank you for being kind.
No, thank you,
It's
Jack.
lovely to meet you.
You too.
It's lovely to have you on the show. Oh, don't speak too soon. You're going to see how it edits first.
All the graphics.
Yeah, all the graphics. Well, you see the garden of the network.
I said garden way too much. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes, but I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Well done. Thank you.